What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And today, you know what? We're going to change some things up. That is right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to preview the AFC and NFC Championship games. Now, hold the phone. That doesn't mean that we're going to not cover any XFL information, because we've got some XFL information that I do want to touch on and I want to talk about, but that's going to come after we go ahead and we preview these two championship games. If it's your first time here, hey, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back and thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, you know what I'm going to say. Have fun. No, just kidding. Subscribe, guys. Come on, subscribe. Thank you, guys, for watching all the videos and leaving all the comments down in the comment section. You know I love to interact with you down there, and leave me some good ones because I will definitely feature those in an upcoming video. Now, let's go ahead and let's get to it, because we got two really good games, I think, coming up, depending upon when you're watching this, either late Saturday night or Sunday morning. I think that we've got some really good games that we've got that are going to be coming up, okay? So let's go ahead. Let's not waste any more time. Let's start off with the AFC game. Why? Because it's coming first. Let's just go ahead and let's go there. So let's go ahead. Let's go to Kansas City. We're going to go to Kansas City to Arrowhead Stadium, where the Kansas City Chiefs are a 7-point favorite against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are coming in off of some really big wins. They were big win. They had a big win there in Baltimore a week ago, and then of course they knocked off the defending Super Bowl champs, the Patriots, the week before. Listen, they have been really running on the legs of Derrick Henry throughout this playoff run. And I believe that the playoffs through Kansas City are through the hands of Derrick Henry. If he can lead this team through that and he can continue to pile up the yards, I really believe that they can pull out the win in this one. The keys, though, it isn't necessarily going to be him. I think that there are bigger things here, though, that really need to take precedence. What do I mean? Tannehill's got to play like he has the past couple weeks. He needs to be error-free. He needs to hit his wide receivers, and he needs to play with the urgency and the determination that he has the past couple weeks. He really has been the deciding factor. Really, you know, he was getting those extra yards, making those extra plays, being more accurate than what he has in the past. And that's really what the difference was between them and Baltimore. I mean, you know, when it came down to it, they converted and Baltimore didn't. Now, whether they did, whether it was a turnover or whether it was turnover and downs, or whether it was not catching the ball, Baltimore didn't convert. And Tennessee did in that game. And that's really was what made the difference there. And a lot of that you can attribute to Tannehill and just this vigor that this offensive line has had. If you go ahead and you watch tape, you see the push that they get. The other thing is that you see the vision that Tannehill and that Henry are playing with. Listen, they knew that Henry was getting the ball, especially later on in the game. And it seems to be, though, it's that Henry, as the game's going on, he is getting better, meaning those 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards are now turning into 7, 8, 15, 20, 30-yard runs. And the thing is the guy's got breakaway speed as well. So if he gets loose, he can literally be gone. To where I think in this game, it's going to be really interesting to me to see how that all transpires. Now, their defense is very porous. However, it's a very bend, don't break. I think they really took advantage of the opportunities that Baltimore gave them in that game. And you really saw that. They kind of gave, and then got their opportunities and took advantage of it. And when Baltimore needed to convert, they didn't allow them. So I do want to give them credit on that front. I don't want to just say that it was all on, Baltimore for not converting, though I would say a good chunk of it is. But this defense is going to need to step up, because the offense that they're going against with Mahomes and company, listen, they are clicking on all cylinders. Everything is firing hot. It's firing well. This is a well-tuned machine, and this is a race car. And if you let this race car get out on the track without banging it, Tennessee, you're not going to win a track meet today or tomorrow, whatever. You are not going to win that. You're just not built that way. Now, I think that there are ways that you can take advantage of it, and we'll go ahead and we'll look at some keys that I think to it. But this is a well-tuned, well-oiled machine, and really, they are hitting their stride right now. This offense is. Now, if you watched the divisional playoff game that they had, the reason why they got down against Houston is because of the miscues that they had. They're dropping passes. They're not blocking. They just came out absolutely flat, and then they kicked themselves in the rear end. They took a punch to the mouth, and you know what? They didn't like it. And the big bear decided, I don't like this, and I'm going to fight back. And then the bear mauled Houston. And so when we look at that, that's kind of what happened. Now, I will say that, Houston's is a decent team, but they're different than Tennessee. Even though that their colors might be slightly, similar, and they kind of look a little bit of the same, they are different teams. Their offenses, especially, are designed differently. We've got the Tennessee is they relied a lot more on their wide open offense, and once Kansas City settled down, quit making mistakes, they really started to kind of figure things out and slow it down and shut it down, and that's pretty much what they did. And the offense just did what they do. And this is a very, very good offense. It runs a really, really nice. It's a nice hybrid offense. The way that I look at it, I really like the way that they run. They run some RPO stuff. They run a lot of misdirection stuff. They definitely run, air raid type of stuff. And so as I'm watching this stuff and as I'm looking at it, I don't necessarily think. I think that Tennessee might get some stops, and that's really a key here. Is that Tennessee's going to need to get some stops, and they're going to need to take. They're not going to need to take advantage of every opportunity they get. Now, they did that against Baltimore, which was really nice to see. And one of the things that I think that they're going to need to take more advantage of is going down the field with Tannehill. I think that they're going to need to use Derrick Henry more as a decoy in this game to really be able to score. Because I really feel like they need to slow this game down, because if they do not slow this game down, they are going to lose in a landslide. They're going to lose by 20-some points, and Kansas City's just going to cruise. It's going to be over, before the third quarter is over. Man, I can't talk. But yes, it's going to be over just like that. And, before this playoff run is going to be done. However, if they can get Derrick Henry running well and get a really good push up front, which I think they can against this Kansas City defense, and do just enough to just kind of throw them off, if Tannehill can come out and play with the moxie, and the attitude and the fire that he had last week, and make some throws down the field like he did last week. I love that streak down the field where they got the score and the touchdown. I think that they need to do more of that in this game, and I think that they will really step up and take an advantage of that. Now, let's look at Kansas City here. Kansas City, I think that their defense, when I'm looking at it, so I'm not. Nothing crazy. Both of these teams are giving up ridiculous amount of yards. Both over 400. Now, granted, Kansas City's definitely giving up more. But their offense is just really, prolific to say the least. I mean, they've really brought this thing back. And so I think if they can stay on schedule, and they can keep converting, and if they can convert early and not get down early, because if they play like they did against Houston, what's going to happen is they're going to get blown out of the stadium, because the difference is that once Tennessee gets up. If they get up by 14, 17 points, they're just going to keep feeding Derrick Henry the ball, and they're just going to run out the clock on the game, and it's going to be over. And, Kansas City's not going to get the chances that they would. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to come out firing, and I think that they're going to punch Tennessee in the mouth, and unfortunately, they're going to make Tannehill put everything on his shoulders. And I just don't think that Tannehill has the ability to really, take the full game on his shoulders. I think that he can step up and rise up in positions and make plays, as he needs to. But I just don't think he can take the game on his shoulders. The game really needs to be on Derrick Henry's shoulders. And I think that Kansas City can take Derrick Henry out of this game. And the other thing is I think that if they key on Derrick Henry, if Tannehill can't make those conversions, because that's what they're going to do, they're going to key on Henry, and if they don't take those opportunities, and Tannehill converts on those opportunities, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose big. Now, Kansas City, on the other hand, I think that they've got a real opportunity here. That if their offense can come out firing and convert, early and quick, Tennessee cannot keep up with them, and I think that this thing can get out of hand real easy and fast, and it not be a game at all. And you will see Kansas City in the championship, in the Super Bowl. So, as we're looking at that, my thoughts. Well, the spread is 7 points, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm taking those 7 points. Unfortunately, Tennessee, I think that your run is over, and I think that you're just going to come up short. I do not think that this is a race that you're going to win. I don't think you have the firepower to keep up with Kansas City, especially how they are firing right now and on all cylinders, and they're running hot, running good. I think that you have a battering ram, but this is more. This is not a demolition derby. So listen, Tennessee. Unfortunately for you, this is not a demolition derby. This is a sprint. And right now, you are a wrecking ball. Unfortunately, you need a race car. And I think that Kansas City is that race car. So go ahead, Kansas City, I'll go ahead and give up the points. Go ahead and give up the 7 points. I think Kansas City wins big, and I think that they scoot on over to the Super Bowl, and I think they'll be in the Super Bowl. Okay, let's go ahead now, and let's move to our nightcap game. Well, not really nightcap. Our 6 o'clock game. And that's the NFC Championship game. We've got the Green Bay Packers. They are rolling into Levi Stadium, and they're playing the San Francisco 49ers. That game's at 6:40, and the spread on that one is that the Green Bay Packers are getting 8 points here. Now, what do I think about this game? I think that this game's actually going to be a more interesting game than the last game. I think that what's happening is you've got a young, hot team with a very good defense and a very talented defense against a Green Bay team that does have some veteran players on it, especially at quarterback. And I think Aaron Rodgers' experience is going to be huge in this game. The question is, though, whether or not I actually think that Green Bay can pull this off. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at things. Green Bay did a very good job against a Seattle team that played very well against them, and that's a very good Seattle team that actually probably should have beat Green Bay. But what Green Bay did, and this will be interesting to see, this matchup is a really good one for me because you have Aaron Rodgers against that San Francisco defense, and that defense is it's crazy good. And the thing is whether or not that they can get Adams or Graham open, because those seems to be when they need yards, when they need to make plays, those are the two guys that they're going to. Aaron Rodgers likes both of them, and those are kind of his safety fails. And the other thing is that they're really designing just about everything to go that route in that way. And so they're moving both of those guys, now not as much Graham, but they are moving Adams all over the field. And so as I'm kind of looking at this, Adams is dynamic, and once he gets the ball in his hands, you never know what he can do, and so that's definitely what you want to see with Green Bay. Now, whether or not they're going to move him, use a lot of the misdirection, motion, they're going to, move him in the slot into different positions and that, trying to hide him, that is going to be really, I think, key to what they're doing, and whether or not Aaron Rodgers can exploit what's going on there. I think that, that seems to be where things are. However, we haven't talked about that defense and how they can get pressure just rushing 4 guys, sometimes even 3 guys. I mean, they are ridiculous up front. They just have some studs up front that really get to the ball. Now, we do know Aaron Rodgers. Listen, he's known for his arm and his accuracy, but he is very, very accurate on the run. And so if they get him moving, and if they can't get him down, and they allow him to move, and they can buy time to get Adams open, Green Bay is going to have a really good shot in this game. Green Bay is very disciplined in the way they play. Aaron Rodgers does not, he does not throw the ball away or make a lot of inaccurate throws. So for San Francisco, they're really going to need to get after him and get after him hard. And that is the question here. And that's going to be the interesting thing for me, is that D-line against Aaron Rodgers and that offensive line. Is that offensive line going to give Aaron Rodgers enough time and allow him to move around in the pocket or outside of the pocket enough to where Adams can use his athleticism and his speed to get open to where he can get him the ball? Now, I think Graham is going to be another option as well. See if he can find some creases in that defense, and see if Green Bay can really make some mismatches there to where that they can take advantage of and keep themselves, I think that they'll be able to keep themselves in this game. Now, let's go ahead and let's look over at the kind of the defensive side of things, because I think that Green Bay's defense, they might be able to do some stuff here. I think that San Francisco's got I think their offense is pretty good. However, the question is whether or not, Jimmy G is ready for this stage. And so we're going to see that. We're going to see how well he comes in under pressure, how well he deals with some of, with Green Bay and they have, their defense. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And they are very smart defensive players. They got some veteran guys on that defense as well. And so as we're looking at this, it'll be interesting to see how well he does and to see if Garoppolo can really step up to the occasion here. Now granted, they are at home. They're going to have the crowd on their side. They're going to be excited, and I think that they're going to feed off of that. However, though, I really think that it's going to come down to the 2 quarterbacks in this situation, and I think it's going to come down to whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to get enough time to stay away from that crazy defensive front that's going to be coming at him nonstop all day, and being able to get the ball into Adams' hands, or if Garoppolo is going to be able to step up to the occasion and really take that step to become, a top tier quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback in this league. And that's really what we need to see. We've seen him play well, play good. He has made some mistakes, and he is kind of error prone. And so the question is whether or not he can step up to that level. Now, when I look at things, I will give San Francisco this little bit of edge because Green Bay does have to go. They've got to go out west. I don't think that the temperature change or anything like that is going to affect them. The time change, it might, but they're playing a little later, so I don't necessarily think so. I think, though, that the home field advantage, especially with it being San Francisco, a storied, franchise in the league. For them to be back in this place again is huge, and I think the place is going to be rocking. The fans are ready for it. The fans are going to be ready for everything, and it's going to be great atmosphere for all of the 49ers fans. So as I look at this, I think it's going to be a very close game to where if I had to pick the spread, I would pick Green Bay. However, if this is going to come down to one team or the other, I got a feeling that San Francisco is going to do just enough throughout most of the game that's going to have to keep Green Bay playing catch-up. And at the end, I don't think that they're going to have enough against this defense. I think this defense is going to be too stingy for them. And I think at the end of the game, it's going to get ugly, and I think Rodgers is going to get hit a lot, and I think that's going to end their run for this season. That's the way that I look at it. So if I'm picking the game, I'm definitely going 49ers. I think that they're going to win. I think they're going to win a close one. 3-4 points, somewhere right there. I think that, I think at the end of the game, Green Bay is definitely going to have to score a touchdown to win it. But I think that they're going to be in that position. But I think that the defense is going to step up. They're going to that front seven's going to end up with a sack, probably that even rushing with 4. They might end up, sacking and ending the game on a sack on Rodgers. That's kind of how I see it, and I kind of see, the 49ers going to the Super Bowl. But if I had to pick the spread, I'm going to go Green Bay and give me those. We're looking at 7.5 some places, 8 points other places. So those are really kind of my two breakdowns and that with it. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully we'll see what happens. I think that we're going to have 2 games that you're going to be on the edge of your seat for. I think the first game, you're going to go ahead. I think we're going to have a decent first half. That'll still be a game into the third quarter, but probably fourth quarter, you'll be able to take a break, get your things done you need to for Sunday, and then around 6:40, you'll be able to go ahead and turn on the game and watch, I think, a really nice game that people will be talking about all Monday morning. For those of you who have to go back to work on Monday and those of you who have a holiday, hey, I think you're going to have a great night of some really good football to either one way or the other. So that's what I think about with both of the NFC and the AFC games. Let's switch gears now, and I want to go to the XFL, because one of the things for me here is a really interesting thing that I think that's happened. Now, granted, we've had some more transactions, and one of the big things is that an allocated quarterback to the Seattle Dragons, Chase Litton, was released by them, which was kind of a big deal because he was part of that signing where they allocated, those quarterbacks. They weren't just guys that were drafted by the team. And so you kind of thought that he was going to kind of come in there and, go ahead and challenge for the starting job, but it doesn't look that way. Looks like that right now, Brandon Silvers and BJ Daniels are in a neck-and-neck tie right now. Now, who knows? It could be Silvers' job, and we're just seeing a lot of BJ Daniels because he's so athletic. And he is such a weapon, and they're trying to figure out how to use him. And that, I don't know, but I do know that it's a 2-man race there, and they let Chase Litton go. So we'll keep up on that, and we'll keep up more on player transactions, and definitely going to have a video coming up about the second week of training camp. So be looking forward to that. That'll be coming up here soon. But the main one I want to be looking at is the Vipers. They signed Antonio Callaway, and Callaway was a wide receiver for the past 2 years for the Browns, and he's actually a pretty productive wide receiver for them. And this is an interesting signing for me. If you don't know anything about him, and that's fine. He was a good positional player at wide receiver for them. He's a very talented guy. Made a lot of catches for him in 2018. So Callaway in 2019, he's really kind of had some issues, and he's had some substance abuse issues. It looks like, it seems to be, they haven't come out and said anything, but it looks more than likely just because of everything that's happened with him. It looks to be that it's marijuana, and so he was suspended early on the season. Served that suspension, came back, and then seemed to have another instance with it to where he was released by the Browns and also ended up with a 10-game suspension, which which lasted for the last 7 games of this season. And so 2020, he still has 3 games that he would have to sit out if he were to sign with some team. Now, he signs with the XFL, which I think is a very good thing for him. And I think both of those things are, I think it bodes well for both of them. And we'll get into that. But the reality of it is he can finish out with the XFL, be done in May, and then sign and be on some team in the NFL, serve his 3 games, and be back in the NFL, and everything's fine, and have a really good season in the XFL. Now, looking at this, I think it's a good thing for him because it gets him out. It gets tape for him out there, and it gives him an opportunity to try to, clean his image up, get back on the field, and show really those teams again what his worth is. Now, for the Tampa Bay Vipers, I think that this is a really, really good pickup for them. I think that they really need a guy like him with the talent that he has at wide receiver. I think that he's going to be huge for Aaron Murray to throw to. It seems to be Aaron Murray's team right now. However, Quentin Flowers is coming on strong and coming on hard. I don't know what we're going to see of him as well, but I think regardless of whoever it is at quarterback, I think that having him on this team is going to be huge. I think that he's really going to add to that passing game, and I think that they just stepped it up in my book a level. He really elevates their wide receiver room. Now, whether or not, how that all transpires, I don't know. I mean, granted, it's a wide receiver. You still have to have a quarterback to get you the ball, and everybody knows I'm not high on Aaron Murray. You can change my mind, though, and come week 2, who knows? We might be saying something different about Aaron Murray. But you got to get Callaway the ball. However, when you're looking at the wide receiver room, now you have to take notice of the wide receivers out there in Tampa Bay, which I think is a really, really good thing. So we've got that stuff out of the way, which kind of the football thing. Let's look at, though, really, the substance abuse situation here. Because the XFL, when McMahon really first came out and, they talked about the XFL, they talked about how, they're not going to take any of, these guys with these issues, all of this stuff. But it seems to be that they're taking advantage of it here. And, in some instances, I applaud them because they need to take every opportunity that they can get to get talent and to really, pull that talent out from underneath the NFL to really make their product good. So I applaud them in that. However, it is really interesting to me to see that, a guy that's got issues in another league, for them to really step up and really take on that risk. Now, it's not a huge risk like Antonio Brown would be, some of these other situations. But it really is one of those things to where, it does make you, kind of step back and really kind of evaluate things and really see, what the XFL is doing. And they're really kind of showing their cards here, that they're really more about getting talent and where they see talent is, than it is really, hanging their hat on, their morals. Now, granted, it's like the NFL. You've got this meter, and it's the talent versus risk. And if that talent is higher than the risk, they're going to take it. They're going to take the risk. But if that risk is just higher than what the talent ability is for the individual, they're going to pass. And it looks to be, in this case, that the talent's there. And who knows? It could be. It's been a little while. It's been, since he had the issue, it's been over, he's been suspended. He was suspended for the last 7 games of the season. We've already had 2 weeks after that. So, you're looking at your 9th, 10th week. We're 2.5 months into, this suspension thing that he's had. So who knows? It might have given him some opportunity to rethink things. And it looks like he has, because if he's going down to the XFL and doing that, it seems like he's trying to really set himself up to, really kind of, rejuvenate his career and start it there in the XFL. So, as I look at this, on one hand, I'm kind of like, this is a really good opportunity for the XFL, and also this young player he's a young guy, really young guy, who's made some bad decisions, and giving him a second chance and an opportunity. And then on the other hand, you're kind of like, I don't know. You're starting to get into these gray area things and starting to, to deal in these things. And, you're talking about trying to make everything family friendly, and that you're not going to deal with these guys that have drug issues, that, have, these arrests, that have, all of this baggage. You don't want any of that in your league, and so you kind of have that. And so, trying to figure out this balancing act of where all that is, where it all sits, it definitely has gotten into a gray area, and it's just something I wanted to touch down. The thing is I don't know the situation. I don't know him. I wish him all the best, and I hope that this is just the beginning of a really cool redemption story. That at the end of the XFL season, we see a young guy who has made some mistakes, but he's learned from them. Now he's more mature, and he's a better player, and he's ready to go take on the NFL. And that, again, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that happen, and the XFL be the springboard for them. And I'd also like him, to see him to be a good contributor on a Tampa Bay team. So yeah, I hope that that's the case. And so in this instance, I'm kind of I don't know with the XFL on it. We'll see how they do. As these arise, and as we get more of these situations with the XFL, and and players, and kind of these talent that's out there, but they've got this baggage attached, how they handle it. So definitely this has got me leery, but I'm not calling foul play yet. So that's just my thoughts, and I know it's a longer video, but hey, I wanted to talk some things out, and I definitely wanted to preview some games for you guys, and have some discussion about it. All right, leave me those comments down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the 2 championship games, and definitely let me know what you think about this whole signing with the XFL, what your thoughts are on it. All right, I know that you guys are busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night.